This episode of the Better Than Success podcast is brought to you by BTS Funding. BTS Funding is a commercial mortgage brokerage specializing in hard money lending and funding non-owner occupied real estate projects all over the U.S. Our team of industry professionals is not only comprised of funding specialists, but also investors and real estate investment educators, giving our clients the advantage when we service their loans. If you're looking to get financing for your real estate investments, give us a call. We can help you sort through all the clutter and get the capital you need to do your deals and build your real estate empire. Visit btsfunding.com and mention the Better Than Success podcast to get $500 off the cost of your next real estate loan. Remember, visit btsfunding.com right now. Welcome to the Better Than Success podcast, the podcast for first-generation entrepreneurs and key members of small teams. The podcast dedicated to helping leaders win in every way possible. The podcast that talks leadership, systems, investing, entrepreneurship, teamwork, branding, marketing, and much more. And now your host, entrepreneur, author, real estate investor, and founder of Better Than Success, Nicole Purvy. Hello, friends, leaders, and investors. This is Nicole Purvy, your host of the Better Than Success podcast, and I have an amazing episode in store for you guys today. So let me tell you why I'm doing this solo episode. I'm about to give y'all all type of game, like a lot of game. The reason that I'm doing this episode is a little while back, I decided that for our Better Than Success Real Estate League, I was going to start doing one-on-ones. I opened up a calendar. This is just for members where people sit down with me and they can have a consultation with me. So this is not, I'm not giving you any real estate curriculum. It's more about mindset, and it's also about piecing the puzzles, putting the pieces of the puzzles together. And it's also about coming up with a plan. And I'm super thankful that I decided to do it. Like when I first decided to do it, people were like, oh my goodness, this 250 people. Like, first of all, I know everybody's not going to do it because schedules and whatever. But second of all, like I really needed to sit down and talk with members one-on-one and find out what is the difference between someone who comes into the league and they start doing deals ASAP and someone who has all their ducks lined up and they actually don't do deals. So I found out there were a couple of things, probably maybe about 3 different things that kept people from actually doing deals, because we're giving them all the support. We're giving them all the education, all the content, like you have everything. And so there are about maybe 3 different things. The first thing is mindset. I'm not going to go into this. Maybe I'll do another episode about this. I said that I was going to teach a class about this. I know you're tired of hearing about mindset, but it's everything. So if you're 30 years old, for 30 years, you've been taught that you have to trade your time for money. And so one day you come into the league and we tell you like you don't have to trade your time for money. Like maybe in the beginning if you're wholesaling, or like if you're on a shoestring budget and you're doing a rehab and you might have to like put in a little bit of time. But for the most part, real estate, you don't have to trade your time for money. And if you've been taught that you have to do that for 30 years, and then someone comes along and tells you that you don't, it's going to be really hard for you to change the channel in your mind in a matter of months. And that's okay. It's a learning process. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I find that keeps people from doing their first real estate deal or really taking action is people don't have a real plan because they don't know what it is that they want. Yeah, I want to do real estate. That's not good enough. What does that mean? Right? Like, what does that mean? What are you doing this for? What is the end goal? And a lot of times people don't know what that is. They don't even know what their short-term goal is. Like, so I say, okay, you joined the league today. Where do you see yourself in a year? I want to have some rentals. Okay, how many? What type of rentals? Okay, so let's say you do know how many rentals. What does that mean that you have to do today? Right? Like, what do you have to do today in order to get that? Like, how much is it going to be worth your time? Like, oh, I want to get 2 rentals. Is it going to be worth your time? I'm not saying that it's not, but have you thought about these things? So like really coming up with a plan, right? And I know a good amount of that is, you plan on coming up with a plan, by joining the league. Absolutely. But there oftentimes people come in and they're gathering information and then they don't sit down and do it because you weren't really taught. Like a lot of us weren't really taught to do that. And so, that's what we do in the one-on-one. We sit down and we come up with a plan. All right. So let me tell you the other thing that keeps people from doing their deals. And it's something that I would have never imagined is people are coming and they're getting information from us, from the internet, whatever. This is great. Like getting information is great, but they're not piecing it together, right? They know how to, they hear all this information about how to actually do the flip. They hear this information about how hard money loans work. They hear this information about how traditional mortgages work. They hear information about how you can use your FHA to get a quad. And they hear about all these different things and then they just don't piece it together to make it all work. So in this episode, I told myself I was going to I'm still going to do a video for our members that helps them to piece all of the information together. But I decided I was going to do a podcast that gives a brief overview. The video for members is going to be much, much, much more in depth, but this is going to give you a overview. All right. So I'm going to tell you how you can do real estate with no money. No, this is not one of those ads that you hear on the radio where it's like, we're going to teach you how to do real estate with no money in 20 days. Like you can in wholesaling, but this is not about wholesaling. This is about how to actually get into your first flip or your first rental. And I'm telling you right now, unless you're wholesaling, and if you're not wholesaling, which this is not for all of you, like some of you actually have jobs and like wholesaling, sometimes it takes, unless you have a huge network, it takes a lot of effort. And so wholesaling, it's just not for everybody, right? So I'm going to tell you right now, this plan I'm going to give you is going to require some patience because it's not something that you can do in 20 days, 30 days. And it's going to require some discipline. But this is the plan. This is how you do it. Okay? Okay. Like this is where you piece all of the puzzles together. Put all the pieces of the puzzles together. Okay. So the very first step that you have to do, step 1, is you have to have good credit. You have to get your credit right. What does that mean? It means probably a credit score of maybe 680 or better, but the credit score is less important as it is what you have actually on your credit. Okay. Now, let me I'm trying to think of what order I want to go in. Okay. What do I mean by that? The score is important for sure. But we need you not to have any derogatory things, at least in the past 3 years on your credit. Any late payments, any charge-offs. They need you not to have any of that. Now, you're probably like, oh man, I got bad credit. I'm just going to turn this off. No, I don't need you to do that. Because a lot of times people get discouraged because they've just had bad credit and they've been having bad credit for such a long time. And they think that it's not repairable. But the reality is it is. It's very repairable. And it's going to take a lot of discipline on your part and you being intentional about managing your budget and managing your money. And it's going to take some time. Okay. Here are my suggestions for it. And this is why it's important for you to focus on the discipline part and the mindset. Because if you can't get your credit right and have the discipline to get your credit right, then you're not going to be able to do real estate. Real estate requires money and time management, and it requires discipline. I don't want repair your credit in 30 days, and then you think because you had a lifetime of a 500 credit score, and then someone does some magic stuff on your credit, and you're at a 700, and now you have the discipline to do real estate, and you don't. Okay? All right. So here's what I want you to do to repair your credit. Now, we had a sponsor a little while ago, and the sponsor for credit repair and the sponsor I never used them. They were a sponsor, right? So like they cut us a check. And it, actually the whole situation made me decide that I'm not taking on any sponsors, not even for our big events, unless it's something that I use and that I 100% believe in, right? So I'm going to tell you who I use. I'm going to tell you who I use right now. I use my guy, Will Roundtree. I think it's We Management. I don't know what the WE stands for. I just call him Will. I'm going to give you his contact information in a minute. Will is a little bit more expensive than most credit repair companies. But the reason I use him is because I know if there's anything, like I use him because I'll do like a round of like inquiries, get some credit, and then I'll get him to wipe it off. And I had a couple of things from like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I don't remember what they were, late payments. And I even had a derogatory thing on my credit from a long time ago that this particular lender looked at from like 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. It was like 5 years ago. And I used him to get it off. The reason I use him is because I don't have to really be on top of him. I trust him. And I'm not saying that you just give him your money and don't be on top of him. I'm not going to suggest that. You should definitely be on top of it. But this is my friend that I've known for years and years and years. And so my suggestion, whoever you go with to repair your credit, if you got anything on your credit, you might have a 680 credit score, but you got a couple of late payments. But we need you to have at least a 680 and then have things as clean as possible on your credit. So you're going to go to Will Roundtree. I'm going to tell you where to go. You can set up a free consultation with him. Go to wemanagement.setmore.com. That's wemanagement.setmore. That's setmore.com. Right? Okay. All right. So you've worked with Will. And again, he's a little bit more expensive. I think he's about $600-700. You just pay it. Okay. But it works. Trust me. I sent someone to him to get bankruptcy off the credit, and he did. Okay. one of my other clients, when we were doing web design, we were sitting down. He was telling me about some other problems he had, and I referred him, and he got a bankruptcy off the client's credit. All right. So you worked with Will. You got your credit cleaned up. You good. You figured out a budget. You high rolling. Okay. Now here's the next thing. You don't have no money. Right? That's the whole thing. You don't have no money. All right. You're like, how am I get my first rehab? So the next thing that you're going to do is this is my way of doing things. Okay? Don't have to do it this way. This is my way of doing things. You're going to get some lines of credit. That's why you have to have good credit. You're going to get some lines of credit, and you're going to need these lines of credit for your down payment on your property. Okay? Here are some places you can get lines of credit. Will, when you set your meeting up with Will can also help you with this as well. He has way more resources than I'm going to just give you a few resources. Navy Federal. You just got to know someone in the service, which I'm sure you do. Navy Federal. Discover. Right? Discover Credit Card. Capital One. JetBlue. There are tons of other resources that Will can give you. Now, you can either get lines of credit or you can use credit cards for this. Right? The other thing that you want to do when you're repairing your credit, I'm going to back up just a little bit. The other thing you want to do as you're repairing your credit is you might not even have any credit, or you might have some credit cards with very low limits. You want to, over time, work with Will to increase the limits. You want to at least get yourself to a point where you have at least $30,000 to $40,000 in available credit. For real, you may want to even shoot for, if you have the ultimate patience, you might want to shoot for $100,000. And I'm going to tell you why in a second. But at least $30,000 to $40,000 in credit. Okay? So you worked with Will. You got some lines of credit. Again, this is not your quick fix. This is something that's going to take some months or possibly even a year for you to get ready for. But it's okay, because you're going to be working on your discipline in terms of managing your money in the meantime and saving, right? Right. Because I'm not letting you get into a real estate deal and you have zero discipline. I'm just not letting you do it. Okay. So, all right, you got your lines of credit. You worked with Will Roundtree, and you've got your lines of credit, and you've got your credit cards. Okay. Now, let me put that to the side. There's an even better way to do it, but you have to have a business that's been around for 2 to 3 years. And it doesn't have to be a real estate business. Probably prefer it not to be a real estate business, honestly. This is how I did it. If you have a business that's been around for 2 to 3 years and you're showing income of revenue of at least $100,000, you can get business lines of credit. Now, for business lines of credit and your personal credit still has to be good as well. If you have business credit, that's even better. But you get business lines of credit. This is great because it doesn't report to your personal credit report. Haha. I'm going to give you a resource for that. My guy, Marcus Knuckles. He's been on the podcast. Okay. Marcus Knuckles, you can reach him at bizmoneypro, BIZmoneypro @gmail.com. Now, I'm going to tell you how to work with Marcus. Marcus is a whiz at all of this. He is a whiz at this. But because he's so sought after, he gets a little flaky sometimes with returning calls. So if you email him, this is what I need you to have prepared. Don't call him with a bunch of questions because he will ignore you. Okay? Call him if you have at least a 700 credit score, your business has been around 2 to 3 years, and you have revenue of at least $100,000 to $150,000 for the past 2 years. Only call him then. And then if you only call him then you might have to sweat him a little bit. It's okay. He's forgetful. But once he puts you on his calendar, you're going to get a barrage of emails from him and you got to act quickly. I'm just saying he's probably going to listen to this episode and be like, why you had to put me out there? I'm just telling y'all, I'm giving y'all the 100%. This is how you work with the people in the system that is proven. I'm telling you it's proven. Okay. I'm not getting no kickbacks, not near from none of this at all that I'm telling you. Okay. Only call. The other reason that Marcus doesn't sometimes call people back is because he's a really nice guy and he doesn't know how to tell people that they don't qualify. Like a lot of times people are super, super hopeful and they're like, yeah, my business has been around. We just started selling t-shirts. Like, he don't have time for you. I'm serious. I'm not trying to be funny. If you don't have at least a 700 credit score and your business has not been around for 2 years, and you're not doing at least 100 in revenue, don't call him. Seriously, you're going to waste your time. I'm dead serious. Okay. And if you want, you can go back and listen to his episode. Is way, way back. Maybe about a year and some change ago. Marcus Knuckles. Okay. So that's the other way that you can do it. All right. So let me tell you why you need at least 30% you need at least $30,000. It depends. $30,000, $30,000 to $40,000 is a very rough number. I'm basing it on a single family row home in not one of the hot areas, like a property that will probably ARV in Philly out. The ARV is maybe 160, 170. That's like a baby flip. That's probably the smallest flip that you can do based off of this next step that I'm going to give you. Okay. What you're going to do is you're going to take that money that you borrow and you're going to leverage that. You're going to borrow some more. This is where you're going to get a hard money loan. Now, I do get paid off of this because I own a commercial mortgage brokerage with my partner, Mark Brown, BTS Funding, right? The reason that we do this is because it is a service that greatly benefits you. Hard money loans is private money that lenders put out there to help people do flips. They typically have a very short term, anywhere 9 to 13 months with a balloon payment. They're interest only loans and they have a balloon payment. The idea is that you in this time frame, you'll get your flip done. most of the lending criteria for the loan is based on the quality of the deal, right? So here is how they work, okay? I'm going to give you just some bullet points. So remember, they're interest-only loans. So you go to the lender, you present them with your deal. Let me back up. You got to find a deal first. So you got your 30 grand. You got to find a deal. Your deal, you want your deal to at least follow the 65% rule. What does that mean? That means that your acquisition, the cost of the home, plus your rehab budget is no more than 65% of the after repair value of the home. I'm not going to give you a whole lesson on that. If you don't know what an ARV or after repair value is, Google it. I'm not going to give you a lesson on it because it's a whole nother topic for a whole nother conversation. Real estate math. Members, Real Estate League members, you'll already notice. You know why? Because it's in your new members course that you got as soon as you signed up. And if you didn't watch it, I'm going to come get you. But I know that you watched it. Okay? The real estate math class. All right. So hard money loans are interest only loans that have a balloon payment, but it's based on typically that criteria that you follow the 65% rule. They don't really care about a whole bunch of other stuff. If it's in the 65% rule and you have the comps to justify that, then you're good. And you got at least a I'm going to tell you what number. Hold on one second. It's in my notes. A 680 credit score. And you got at least a 680 credit score, you're going to get approved. But here's what they will loan you. Typically, they will loan you 90% of the purchase and rehab costs, including 100% of the rehab budget. The maximum loan amount for our lending, BTS Funding, maximum loan amount is 70% of the appraised ARV. Here's an example. If you have a $150,000 purchase plus a $50,000 rehab, that's a $200,000 project. We at BTS will lend up to $180,000, 90% of the project cost, including a rehab holdback of $50,000. The subject property will have to appraise for at least $258,000, subject to completion, right? So the $258,000 that follows that 70% rule. Okay? 70% of 258 is $200K. Okay? Okay. So the way that the money works when they lend it to you is they will, for the rehab budget, you have to actually have some money to put out, and then it's a draw holdback. So they reimburse you. You don't want to do any more than maybe 4, 5 at the most draws. So you run through a little bit, you run through a little bit of money. Now, this is why you have to have at least the $30,000 because you're going to need it for a couple of things I'm going to tell you, including these draws. But you're going to go and fix up a fifth of your project, and then you're going to go back to the hard money lender and say, here are my receipts. This is what I've done. I'd like some of my money. I've like the money that you've promised that you're going to lend to me. And they're going to reimburse you for it. They're going to have an inspector come out. Some hard money lenders charge you for the inspection draw, for the inspector to come out, $250. They're going to come out and make sure, okay, you got this done, you got this done, you got that done. Okay, cool. And then they'll deposit the money in your account. Some of them don't charge for that. Okay, here's some other rules about it. Once you're done, I'm going to skip that part because it's probably episode number 2 of this. The loans typically take 10 to 14 days to fund. I got my loan done in 4. So we can if you are an experienced investor and you got all your ducks in a row, you got all this stuff in a row, we'll push it through for you. But expect 10 to 14 business days. Our minimum loan amount is $75,000. And we don't charge a closing fee. We don't charge a prepayment penalty. So if you have your loan, if it only takes you a month to do your rehab, we don't charge you a prepayment penalty. And the loan origination fee is due at loan closing as a percentage of the loan amount. Okay. Here are some other things that I need you to understand. You're going to need some liquidity, and that's where the lines of credit and the credit card and all that stuff is going to come into play. You're going to need the down payment. So remember, I said we're going to loan up to 90%. So you're going to need that other 10%. You're going to need a minimum of 6 monthly interest payments. Right? Remember, the loan is interest only. You're going to need at least six of them. You're going to need at least, I would say, 25% of the rehab budget. But here we say 10% of the rehab budget. Like sometimes lenders want to see it, depending on who you actually get your loan with. Right? We're a broker, so we have a couple of different programs that we work with. They may actually only want to see 10% of the rehab budget, because remember, you're going to need to pay that out first. So with everything said and done, you at least need $15,000, but I say 30. And I'm doing fuzzy math with saying 30 to 40 because every loan is different, right? Depending on the project, the rehab budget, all that good stuff. So I'm saying 30 to 40 because you're going to need that down payment. You're going to need 6 months of interest payments. You're going to need at least your first draw. And you're going to need a little bit of cushion so you're not like operating under super high pressure. Right? So, like literally, that's it. That's how you do it. Get your credit right. Get you some lines of credit. Take your lines of credit. That's your down payment and everything that the lender is going to require. Find you a deal. Get your rehab budget together. Get a contractor out there. And if you need a contractor, we got contractors in the league as well. I'm getting my contracting license as we speak. So you can hit me up. Don't drive me crazy with deals that ain't deals. But I'm not ready yet. I'll let you know when after everything is all said and done. Get you a contractor to give you a rehab budget. Come to BTS Funding. Go to btsfunding.com. And you can click on pre-qualification application. And then you can fill that out. And then like literally it's like super easy. It's only easy if you know this information that I'm giving you right now. And if you have all your ducks in a row. Don't call and say, oh, I got $20,000. I got $5,000. $5,000 doesn't get you anything. Really, $15,000 isn't going to get you anything. I'm telling you, you want to have between 30 and 40. There are other ways that you can raise the 30 and 40. You don't have to do credit cards. You can this is a whole nother complicated conversation, but you can, if you go through a custodian such as Camaplan, again, I'm not getting anything off of that. Go through a custodian such as Camaplan, you can use your 401k and not pay the withdrawal fees and the taxes on it. Go through a custodian. Again, that's a whole nother complicated conversation. Or if you can raise money, you can talk to your friends and family. That's what we did for when we do our BTS funding, our Better Than Success deals with our members. We pool all our money together. 2,000 here, 5,000 there. I cut the checks to everybody and they got their money back. So we didn't have to do loan, credit cards and all that. We did leverage with hard money, but we still made a lot of money. Like we made really, really, really good return. I'm just going to tell you, everybody's been telling me not to brag about it, but we made 40% return, even with the cost of the hard money. Right? Like 40% is better than 0% of nothing. Right? So, join the league and then we can pool our money together. Like, we do it. every couple of months. We pull our money together and you can be a part of the deal. So you don't have to borrow the money, but I'm just telling you how to do it. But it's not something that's going to take 30 days. You just got to have discipline. This real estate game is long haul. And if you don't have the discipline and the ability to have the sacrifice to do it, then you're not built for real estate, because it's all about sacrifice and discipline and budgeting and project management and time management and money management. That's all it is. So with that being said, time management and money management, I'm going to manage my time as well as yours. And I'm going to end this episode. I gave you guys some gems, some real life gems. So get your ticket for Women in Real Estate Summit at womeninrealestatesummit.com before the tickets are all gone. And make sure that if you want to learn more about our league, go to betterthansuccess.com/BTSREL. And make sure that you give us a 5-star rating. Send this episode out to 3 people. Like, seriously. Send it out to 3 people. And I'm going to also require that all of our members listen to this episode as well. So, I think that's it. Oh, send this out to at least 3 people. 5 if you want to be an all-star, if you want to prove to me how much you appreciate all this information I just gave you. Send out to 5 people. Give us a 5-star rating and write us about, you know what? Give us whatever rating you want to give us. How about that? On iTunes or Google Podcasts. Right? All right, guys. Love you so much. Until next time, happy entrepreneuring.